How we doing, Browns fans? And how about them Buckeyes, baby? OHIO. How about it? National champs. But we're going to be talking quarterbacks for the Browns today. A deep dive into a couple of the top prospects and a look into the outside. Time to get serious for us Browns fans and see who could be the next hope. Who could be the quarterback that would fit best into this Kevin Stefanski system? Let's get to the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara, the sickest Cleveland Browns podcast.
Chubb runs, he's to the 10, 15, he's to the 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. There goes Chubb, he's to the 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Chubba Lubba Hub.
It's going to be sick.
Welcome, everybody. Yes. With Andy McNamara. I hope everyone's doing well. Polar vortex all across the Northeast, the Midwest, everywhere. It's freezing out. So I hope everybody is doing well. Click notifications on, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be covering and get us all set for this super important, maybe the most important draft for the Browns since 2018. We're going to be getting ready as we build towards not just quarterbacks, but all the position groups and deep dive into it. So make sure you're subscribing, get those notifications on. Follow us on social, on X, at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81, Instagram and TikTok too, at AndyMC Sports. Folks, set it off the top. How about it? How about them Buckeyes, huh? Who kicked to Michigan? Get out of here. So what? Big deal. You know what? Let Michigan have their little win, okay? We'll have another national championship. Number nine. Unbelievable game. Little scare late with Notre Dame. And I'll tell you, that Marcus Freeman's a good coach for the Fighting Irish. That guy, I don't know if he wants to do NFL one day, but that guy, you can tell he is a perfectionist, well-disciplined coach. And I like him a lot. But you know who I like better? Little Ryan Day. Huh? How about Jack Sawyer? Everybody stepping up. And Will, by God, Howard. Holy cow. What an absolute sensation. He was Jeremiah Smith. Can we change the rules so I can get Jeremiah Smith to Cleveland today, please? Unbelievable. Unbelievable game. Congratulations to the Buckeyes. Just a fabulous game and a season that turned around from what looked like disaster following that loss to the Wolverines. So, that was a ton of fun. And now that that's done, it's on to East-West Shrine Bowl. It's the Senior Bowl. It's the Combine. It's the draft. There's free agency. We start to ramp up that NFL season. And we're going to have a special guest here on the Authentic Stadium Mustard Hotline, baby. From ballparks to backyards and everywhere in between. Stadium Mustard, smooth but spicy mustard, rich in taste and tradition. Stadium Mustard is real and organic, not manufactured. It's delicious. You can get it at Huntington Bank Field. You can get it all over Cleveland, sports stadiums all over Ohio, America, Canada. Stadium Mustard. Check out their social too. Stadium Mustard. I love it. Great on deli sandwiches, hamburgers, hot dogs, pork chops, whatever the mustard adds an extra little zing. It's wonderful. Stadium Mustard. Get it done. And we go to the Stadium Mustard hotline. Right now, he's a contributor to Cleveland.com and longtime high school football coach in the Cleveland area, our buddy, Coach Lance Reisland. Lance, how are you?
Andy, how are you today? Thanks for having me, my friend.
Oh, great to have you back. And I saw the article you put out, and I thought, you know what? We got to get Lance on with this because we love the deep dive with you. We love to dive in. Before we get to that, it's a look at the quarterbacks in this class, just your overall view, because the general consensus right now is it's not as good as it was a year ago. There's a couple top guys, but there's a lot of question marks.
Well, there's one position in the draft that hasn't been very good for all of us, right? So for those people who like to watch film, when you watch an offensive lineman or you watch a skill player besides a quarterback, there's a lot of, I don't want to say easy, but there's things you're looking for. There's benchmarks you're looking for that will match the NFL. In the NFL, the quarterback position also has that it factor, and the Jaden Daniels it factor, and that's hard. So if you think about from 2011, you can say there's 7, 8, 9 quarterbacks that have been successful. The rest have not been. And so there's just as many successful 3rd and 4th round pick quarterbacks as there's 1st round. So it's kind of like, for me, the one that I always go back to, especially with quarterbacks, is Bill Parcells. I think experience is huge. Number of game reps you've had at the, at the high level, who you've played with, what scheme you're in. Being underneath center is huge nowadays. You got to be underneath center. It's a whole different set of footwork. There's a bunch of different details. So my thoughts on the draft of the quarterbacks is maybe they don't have that initial bang for your buck kind of that you're thinking Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, but we'll see in 3 or 4 years when those guys kind of mature, because somebody will, and there'll be a guy 1st, 2nd, 3rd round that will be an all-pro and be a franchise quarterback for someone without question that no one really thought would be.
Right. And it all depends on fit. The fit is so important. And it doesn't matter, Lance, to me about if someone thinks a quarterback is overdrafted. Is it the right fit? Is anybody saying that Sean Payton overdrafted Bo Nix now? They were at the time, myself included. It was Bo Nix. Okay, you can get a Bo Nix later. Sean Payton overdrafted him, but he realized this is my guy. So you're not overdrafting him if he's your guy for your system and it fits, and it did. And I think that, along with your experience point, is so important, because we kind of went from the extreme. The Trey Lance extreme of playing nothing but raw talent has now kind of swung the other way of let's get guys with some experience who maybe that means they can be more pro ready right away.
Well, and I think you said it right. So there's not a position in all of sports that are more important than the quarterback, but there's also a position that's not more reliant on the teammates around you. Your offensive line has to be good, your run game, your scheme, like you said. I think Cam Ward's an outstanding quarterback. He actually, I think, has a higher ceiling than Shedeur Sanders, but I think Shedeur Sanders is going to be great, and he's a much better fit because of his skill set, what he likes to do. So the coach means a lot. The scheme means a lot. The players around you mean a lot, because if you don't have the players around you, you're unable to do that. The defense has got to be good. Special teams got to be good. Regardless of how individually talented a guy is, especially even at the quarterback position, football is the ultimate team game, and everybody has to contribute to the success of the quarterback. So those guys who have been successful have had a lot of help. They've been really good. Like Jaden Daniels has been outstanding, but his receivers are playing outstanding. They've had a really good scheme for him. Cliff Kingsbury's been great. The defense has played at such a high level for Washington, which they haven't. And I don't mean they're 17th, 18th in the league, but they've made big plays when needed. So still a team game. And like you said, I don't think it's overdrafting if it's a guy that you think can be the difference maker without question. I mean, Lamar Jackson would be a great example of, people didn't think he could do the things he's doing because it hadn't been done yet. So we'll see what happens. I like a lot of these guys. I think a lot of these guys are great competitors. I know you talked about Will Howard, great competitor. We'll see what happens as all of us who like to watch film. We'll see what happens as we get deep into what their skill set is.
Well, we'll get into Will Howard in a couple moments. So your article was around Shedeur Sanders and the possible fit he could be with the Browns with Kevin Stefanski. Before we get to him, you mentioned the most highly touted 1A at least, it seems to be Cam Ward out of Miami. I want to get your thoughts on him, because to me, Lance, it looks like he's very when I say casual and loose, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but very smooth. However, I kind of get a bit of Jameis Winston vibes, and it's good in the sense where he's not going to be phased if he turns the ball over, but he might turn the ball over and kind of throw it and be a little too aggressive. I'm getting a little Jameis vibes there, but I like the skill set. Cam Ward, to you, what do you dislike about him?
Well, the thing I like most about him is he can make all the throws from all the angles. He does play with great poise. He's in a system where they're running RPOs. They do a lot of NFL concepts. The thing that worries me more than his skill set is just the match, right? So my comp to him is 220 Deshaun Watson, and I understand, a lot of people have said, well, why do you continuously bring up Deshaun Watson? Because I thought the Browns made a good move at that point in time. They thought they got a guy who could take him over the edge. It didn't work out. But the skill set that got him that contract and the skill set that got him to Cleveland is very much the same skill set as Cam Ward. But unfortunately, that skill set hasn't been very successful with Kevin Stefanski. Now, people say a coach has got to match what the player does, and I agree with all that. But if you're going with Kevin Stefanski, he has a system that works. And if you're saying that he's the guy, then you got to get people that match what he does. And as good as Cam Ward is, those guys who improvise. I look back to my notes when they got Deshaun Watson, and they're very similar to what I have on Cam Ward in terms of his number one quality is the ability to improvise when the play breaks down. That hasn't been very good for Stefanski. Stefanski works guys within structure. And what I mean by structure is, you go through your progressions, 1, 2, 3, get to your check down, throw the ball away. There's very little, I don't want to say there's very little room, but the improvising skills is not as necessary as they are for like Patrick Mahomes. You can like it or dislike it, but that's kind of what I see. I think Cam Ward has a super high ceiling with the right scheme. Again, a guy who needs to be in the right scheme, a guy where improvising is huge, Andy Reid, things like that. So I just think his skill set is really good. He makes all the throws. He's got great whip in his arm. He's got incredible arm talent, very high processing of information. For the Browns, if Kevin Stefanski's your coach, I just don't think he's the right fit.
No, and why force that issue then, right? Why? And again, with a guy like Jalen Milroe too, why force when it doesn't work? Put the match in there. We've seen it work. Play action, strong running game, wide zone run scheme. Hello, right? Like that works. Do that. Will the Browns front office do it? Who the hell knows? To predict what that group is going to do is will drive you nuts. But now we look and move to Shedeur Sanders, of course, son of Dion. And what's interesting to me, we'll bring up a couple clips that you had there, Lance. But what's interesting to me is the initial thought when you hear Shedeur Sanders, son of Dion, it's like, oh, he's got to be a runaround guy. It's got to be but that's not necessarily the case. He's more of a pocket passer than we might think, right?
Well, there's two things. One is he is outstanding within structure. Now, the thing that I tell everybody, regardless of who they are, if they're kind of Browns fans or they're loyal Browns fan, is look past them. Don't look at his father. Don't look at his father. Yeah. Don't look at the things that his father does. His father is who he is, and that's not a knock on Dion. He's the best ever corner, but he has high expectations and he's very boisterous. But if you watch the film, one of the things that I've been told a lot is, Shedeur is kind of a prima donna. I don't know. He got sacked 52 times this year. When you watch him, he's anything but a prima donna. He's very tough. He's very tough. He stands in there. The thing I like about him most is that he does not lose his fundamentals, mechanics underneath pressure. Now, occasionally he will drift, which is something that we'll work on, but he is extremely tough. His fundamentals they're never gone. Throws really, really well within the structure of the offense and that is what Kevin Stefanski really likes. Really good at play action. He's tall. He makes all the throws. I don't think he has elite arm talent, but arm talent can be overrated if your anticipation and your accuracy is off. He's got, he completed 71% of his passes. I'm really high on Shedeur Sanders. I'm a little bit higher than most, I think. But after watching every throw from last year, I'm very impressed with his toughness. I'm very impressed with his ability to process information. And I think more than anything else, I think he'd be a really good fit for what Kevin Stefanski and Tommy Rees want to do. And the hiring of Tommy Rees tells me that Kevin Stefanski's got the keys back, in my opinion.
Yes, it has to be with the inexperience. Well, Shedeur Sanders, 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions last year, 42 times he was sacked, 52 the year before, listed 6'2", 215 at the combine. We'll get the real numbers if there's anything too off about that. But producer Shane, let's bring up that first clip and have Lance walk us through this for Shedeur Sanders. Take us through, Lance.
You can see the show linebacker. So as this goes through here, you're going to see the linebacker is going to drop from a blitz look. And then this is Pat Shurmur was his coach, which is another thing I really like. So Pat Shurmur is going to run a lot of NFL concepts. So as this play goes back, you're going to see the linebacker come from the middle of the field. He's showing a blitz. Now, as I circle him, I point to him, you're going to see they're going to work a really high low. As that linebacker jumps that route, you're going to see the dig route come in behind it. That's a classic high low that everybody in the NFL runs. You see that a ton with David Njoku. He'll be the underneath guy, and then they'll run one of their good receivers behind it. So this is a classic high-low that all NFL team runs. A lot of things he does is very NFL-based because of Pat Shurmur. So really, once again, saw the high-low, saw the backer jump on the low, immediately adjusted his feet and delivered an accurate football to the dig route behind it for a touchdown.
And that's, of course, not always what you get in college football, the NFL-style scheme. So certainly a value and premium placed on that. Shane, bring up the next one here.
All right, so what you're going to get here, once again, you're going to see him scramble. So the first thing you like is his ability that's proper technique where he's going to spin out because he feels pressure from his blind side. So as a quarterback, we're taught to spin out when we feel pressure. So you're going to see just a great job of spinning out here with pressure. Then the thing I really like, if underneath all this chaos, he's going to beat this guy, then he's going to reset his feet. And when you reset your feet, now you have your body with you, and then he delivers a great ball. So that arm talent, that is probably not a 10, but if it's an 8, when you use your hips and your lower torque, you can create 10. So that's what he does really well. He uses his whole body to throw, great fundamentals. You saw his footwork there. That's really hard to do when you scramble like that, to get away from pressure, then reset your feet and throw the ball accurately. He does it all the time. He's was under great duress his 2 years at Colorado, put up great numbers. But more than anything else, I just like his fundamentals. Again, very pro-style throw right there under pressure.
Well, and you don't see that very often in the pro game, even where the spin out, and quite often you're running off, you see guys throw off their back foot, they're off balance, they're scrambling. That plant and poise, that clip right there was very impressive to me, to actually have that. Now, of course, you have to make sure you have the time if you're being chased and running for your life at the NFL level to be able to plant and you don't get crushed there. But certainly impressive. There is something, though. He's not a perfect athlete or quarterback. Of course, you got a negative for us to look at.
Well, the one thing you get is that obviously he plays with a lot of confidence, right? And sometimes he can be overconfident. But what you're going to see here is that you see really good protection here. Then you're going to see what he does a lot, and I think he does it a lot because he gets so much A and B gap pressure. So the first thing he has is, we call it a drifter as a quarterback coach, right? So he doesn't like what he sees, and then he should just stay there, but he starts to drift. And when you start to drift, you loosen the pocket. And what I mean by loosen the pocket is now you're creating angles for these rushers. You have to stay where protection is. And, in the NFL, there's a launch point. And wherever that launch point is, that's where those offensive linemen know where to protect. And if you get away from that launch point, you're setting yourself up for failure because the linemen aren't protecting it. Now, he's had so much pressure and relies on his arm. Those are two things that I think you can fix. His toughness tells me that he'll be able to just learn to step up in the pocket. Right. And he'll get really good protection in the NFL. Kevin Stefanski does a really nice job with protection. So they will work on his ability to step up inside the pocket when nothing is there. Again, now that has to, really confident self, confident in his arm talent. And when you do that, sometimes you make mistakes because you rely on your skills too much. Those are the things that you can fix with Shedeur Sanders. The things that you can't coach, he has. So I just think he, once again, I'm going to stay really high on him because I think he makes all the throws and I think he's real tough.
Well, the last time we saw him in that bowl game was the ugly side of his game. You saw him running back and all that. But like you said, there's toughness. We would think he's well coached, with his father. Is there, I think teams are going to be able to find this out at the combine. Is there an attitude issue? Is there a prima donna feel? Maybe not on the field, but is there something teams don't like because of growing up with that, that silver spoon with Deion Sanders? And of course, is the Deion factor. Deion had come out and said, look, he's not going to embarrass the team, but behind the scenes, he might tell maybe a Cleveland or he's not coming here. Are you getting any feel of that? Do you think that could be something? Because that's you don't want an Odell Beckham Jr. situation here where his dad's coming and making PowerPoint presentations.
Well, the thing about when you watch Shedeur on film is that all the stuff he does off the field, I try not to get into. My dad taught me a long time ago. My dad was successful at all different kinds of schools with all different types of kids from different backgrounds, cultures, races, ages, you name it. And the one thing is you can't say, the way we used to do it. And kids are different now. And if you don't accept that now, it doesn't mean they're hard work. So from everything I've heard about him, and this is just hearsay, but, I talked to some pretty good people. And the thing is, it seems like he practices really hard. He stays out of trouble. He's flamboyant, but look how he grew up. And, that when you grow up in an NFL household, first of all, you have money. Secondly, you're under a lot of pressure. People know who you are. And that can actually be a good thing when you come to Cleveland because the circus that will be around you as an NFL quarterback, you're used to. You've dealt that with your whole life. Your dad is maybe the best ever to do it at a position in the NFL. So, there's some things that can come out positive like this. I don't like to judge too much. If you're not breaking the law and doing things that hurt your team, what you like to do in your spare time as a young kid, if it's within, like I said, if it's not breaking the law, if it's not hurting you, how you train, because a kid likes to do TikTok, that doesn't bother me. Or a kid likes to do, there's certain things. That's just day and age. And my dad always taught me, you have two choices. You can complain or you can win. And sometimes you got to adjust to what you have. Age, these are young kids coming into the NFL now. And, when you're 21, 22 years old, you're still kids. So I would let, obviously they'll do their homework. They'll sit down and talk with him. But I'd be highly surprised if he's not super intelligent in terms of how he handles himself on the chalkboard, super intelligent, how he respects others. I would be shocked. That stuff that he puts out there, that's just his, off the field kind of stuff that doesn't have anything to do with football. And as long as it's not affecting his teammates and how they think of him, let these kids do what they need to do, and then get on the field and get ready to work.
Right. And that's what all these teams have to decide. Can you live with it? Whatever the thing that might raise an eyebrow, social media, whatever. Can you live with it? Is it an issue, like you said, that will affect the team themselves, their training, whatever? If it is, write them off. If it isn't, welcome them in. So, Lance, from that being said, Browns picking 2. Assuming the Titans take Cam Ward number 1, would Shedeur Sanders at this point be your pick for the Cleveland Browns 2nd overall?
Once again, I would like to, have those conversations too. If I was going to pick, I think the Browns, I think there's quarterbacks, because of the quarterback positions being so volatile and who's successful or not, the Browns need game changers in certain positions. So if they feel, there's 2 things. One is, I'm a quarterback coach. So yes, I would take Shedeur Sanders because I think he's outstanding. However, I do think there's more. I think there's other guys, Travis Hunter. I think there's guys, Graham, the Graham kid out of Michigan, the Abdul Carter kid out of Penn State. There are some game wreckers that I think are out there that if you think they can change the game and be a starter right away, and then you have a high grade. I have a really high grade on Dylan Gabriel. I could have, I haven't really I'm a couple films into Will Howard. He played outstanding in the last 4 weeks. So you have to find, you said it best, you have to find who you think it is. So if there's a guy who you love, who everyone else thinks can be a second rounder, who cares? If you can get him in the second round and he's your guy, great. The thing is, and I've said this all the time, is I don't like to, the only plan is no plan. So whatever the Browns plan is, whether we like it or not, if they have a plan, they stick to it. I'm comfortable with that. I've always been comfortable with that. Stick to what you think you believe in and go with it. It doesn't mean it'll always be successful, but that's what, you can only do what you do and make the choices you make. Just be strong in those choices. So I would take Shedeur Sanders too, but I would not hesitate trading down and getting a tackle. They need a tackle. They need to, Carter kid out of the Carter kid out of Penn State is an absolute game wrecker. I like him. Athletically, he reminds me very, very much of, in terms of game wrecking, a guy I thought a lot of who I played outstanding this year is Peyton Wilson. There's certain talents you just can't coach. And Peyton Wilson's thing was he was old and he was hurt. Well, he wasn't old and hurt with the Steelers this year. And, sometimes
that's who you liked last year when we were on together.
Yep.
That's who that's right.
And the reason I liked him is just because when you watch the film, the eye, my dad said, the eye in the sky never lies. So when you watch these films, some of these guys like Carter's a game wrecker. Mason Graham at Michigan, he's a game wrecker. Travis Hunter's the best athlete maybe to come into the draft in a lot of years. So depending on what you want to do with Travis Hunter, if you want him to play receiver, I think he can be an elite receiver. They need a game changer on the outside. The receiver out of Arizona, I love him, McMillan kid. So there's some game changers out there. And if you're not sold on those guys, you can come down a little bit, maybe get some more picks, because there are some other holes. The thing about the NFL in all levels is you want the quarterback. So if one of these guys is your guy, you go get him at 2.
Yeah, you go get him. And the first tip off to us on what might be done in the draft for the Browns, of course, is what happens in free agency. That's the next step. Who do you get? That should reflect the type of quarterback you'll get. If they go get Justin Fields, well, then I think everyone's getting fired after the year because they're going in that opposite direction with the mobile quarterback that doesn't fit. But we'll be able to see, okay, who's that? Smartly, you try to match that up with what your draft pick is. And to your point, boy, if let's say Vegas is hungry for Shedeur and you trade down to 6 and you get Abdul Carter, who's doing some great things with one arm in the last game, you get him, maybe you swing back at 33 and get your guy. And let's wrap it up with this, Lance. Will Howard. I'm ready from the Draft Day movie with Kevin Costner, Sonny Weaver Jr. I'm ready to write on the green sticky note, Will Howard no matter what. Lance, I'm in love. This guy, you see through this playoff, fired up, leader of men, passion, the grind, the physical run ability. And I'm going to say a name here, and I'm not saying he's going to be this, but I was getting Josh Allen vibes. Physical, throw the ball anywhere. Is he have improvements? Of course he does. He's getting anywhere from grades from 5th round to 3rd round, whatever. I think he made himself some money over this playoffs. But that guy's an MVP. That guy's a winner. That guy can run Stefanski's offense. And, Lance, if you don't have to start him right away and you get a competent veteran and ease him in, you coach this guy up. I think he could be something special.
Well, yeah, and there you just said it. Everybody thinks differently. If you think he's a guy who just needs a little bit of work, then you bring in, Kirk Cousins. I'm really high on Sam Darnold because Sam Darnold works so well within structure. I know he wasn't really good in the last 2 games, but his body of work this year was really good. And it's really good within the pocket, where Fancy likes him. Now, Will Howard, for me, there's 2 things that I think really hurt Will Howard. And the first thing is that he plays with 5 guys. When he has 5 skill players on the field, all 5 of those are going to be day 1 picks. And
yes.
when you play with day 1 picks, when it ends up happening, it's not anything against him, is that a lot of his throws are under 10 yards. A lot of his throws are bubble screens, things like that, short digs, all kinds of stuff within the offense, really super competitive. That would be the one thing is I look forward to charting those plays. How many throws has he delivered between the hashes at about 10 to 25 yards, which is so important in the NFL? Have not seen a ton out of that Will Howard. Secondly, can he drive the football? Have not had to see him drive into super tight windows consistently over the course of, from the pocket. He's done it really well, hit Mbuka yesterday on a really tight window on the sideline. So he's made some throws, but from the pocket, can he deliver to the opposite hash in tight windows on those high lows like we saw the one with Shedeur Sanders? Can he make those throws? I don't know. I mean, that's the thing I look forward to. That's not really a huge Ohio State concept, but I look forward to going back to his Kansas State because I'm a big Klein fan who used to call plays at Kansas State. And we'll see what happens. I look forward to doing a kind of looking at a couple of the years and then this whole year and seeing some of why he got off to a slow start. Was it just because he's a new offense? And, does he drive the ball in bad weather? Because you're going to get bad weather in the NFL and things like that. There's things that, the thing about Josh Allen and that I always tell people about Josh Allen when he came out, Josh Allen had tremendously big hands. And people are like, what does that mean? The only thing it means in the NFL is when you play in bad weather, can you hold the football? And that's really what it comes down to. And you're not going to fumble. So Josh Allen has huge hands. I don't know if Will Howard, I don't know any of those details yet in terms of, his what he can bring to the team. Now, that being said, his play over the last 4 weeks has intrigued me. And now he's kind of entered that conversation of a quarterback that I'm going to do that dive on and see where he lies in terms of how I think he is. And, my opinion is just like everybody else's. It's just an opinion. And we'll see what happens. But he's a tremendous competitor. He's a tremendous, tremendous leader. Big, fast. Can he make the throws from the pocket? We'll see moving forward. I think the combine, pro day, those things are going to be really big for Will Howard.
Yeah. And again, it's a case where, do I want Will Howard starting day 1? I don't. But would I like to see maybe a Drake May type progression that they did in New England where you have veteran whoever go halfway more through the year? Hopefully things are going well. You don't have to plan that much, but he's learning. Seems like he's a student of the game as well. And Lance, there's a couple throws through these playoffs where I looked, I'm like, that's a damn NFL throw right there. The placement. Now, can he do it consistently? Like you said, different parts of the field. And you're playing with top tier talent. But, ideally, everybody in the NFL should be one of the best players on their college team, right? So it is something to dive into deeper. We get caught up in the moment because it's exciting. But, man, I'll tell you, if you can give me a nice veteran, sit Will Howard for a bit, boy, that's a QB room I'd sign up for.
Well, the thing that's really intriguing is that, you hear the term bridge quarterback, and that's really interesting because the Browns aren't in a bridge quarterback situation. They need a veteran quarterback who can win.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing.
On the cheap.
Yeah. And, there's people, can they turn it around? And you heard Myles Garrett say, now I will say this, having to watch a ridiculous amount of Browns film the last couple of years, they're not far off. And he's right when he says that because of the fact of the levels of players they have at each position, right? Really good D-line. They have some good linebackers. I think they need some safety help, which they'll go out and get. Corners are really good. Offensive line is aging, but they were also running a scheme that wasn't theirs. And they're going to
they called that out. They said that.
And they're going to be better when they get back to it. Will they be elite again? I'm not sure, but they'll be better. Nick Chubb, I think, will be healthier. He'll be productive. You go out, maybe get it back. Receivers, Tillman coming back. I thought Tillman was doing good things. I still think they need another receiver. So they're not it's not empty. And if you can get a guy in who can help you win, Kirk Cousins comes to mind. Kirk Cousins can make all the throws. His best years were with Stefanski as his coordinator and as his quarterback coach. So, there's a guy who, the term bridge the gap I don't like to use, but there's a veteran who can win until maybe you get your guy that you drafted ready to go. Boy,
Lance, there's so much more to dive into here. The Shedeur Sanders stuff was great. We'll be tracking your not just a quarterback, but all the positions in the draft. Tell us where we can find your work and follow along.
I'm just on X and on Instagram. It's just Lance Reisland, LanceReisland. And all my stuff there if you'd like to take a look at it.
Beautiful, buddy. Thank you so much for the insight as always. Love it.
As always, thanks for having me. We'll talk soon.
All right, there he goes. Lance Reisland, coach in the Cleveland area, longtime high school football coach and contributor to Cleveland.com. Guys, and Lance is right. We got to see the comment. We got to see the pro day. We need to see I think he is going to the Senior Bowl, I believe. We'll check on that. But all that progress, because you have to try to make those different throws at different levels, right? And all the emotion taking that out. But I saw a leader of men. That dude's a badass. I want Will. As it stands today, I want, find my green sticky note, my draft day, Will Howard, no matter what, get him where you need to and build around. That guy is a spark plug. He's got the size. Can we get a big quarterback, please? The guy's 6'4", 225, who runs through things. Come on. You don't think that's a good look? That's a good type of quarterback in the AFC North in Cleveland? I think it is. Let's give that a go. And you know what else, folks, that we love is touchdowns, okay? We love our touchdowns. We love DraftKings Sportsbook. We love the playoffs. And DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs. And you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings. #1 place to bet touchdowns. So if you're ready to make that first bet, try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. You go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, make your pick, use code 6sports. That's code 6sports. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's when you use the code 6sports. So give that a try. Hey, we got the conference championship games coming up. And remember, only on the DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
There you go, friends. So get that DraftKings Sportsbook app, code 6sports. Get her done there, and we will be back Sunday live, 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll have the parlay party going, conference championships. The Ratbirds are out. By the way, how sweet, Browns fans. I know I was relishing in it. Felt not as good as a Browns win, but still pretty good. Sad Lamar Jackson, complaining people, turning over the ball, losing to Buffalo. I think he might have forgotten that the turnovers he was complaining about, he was involved in 2 of them. You fumbled the ball, Lamar. You threw an interception. You didn't drop the 2-point conversion from Mark Andrews, but still, you're a contributor. And the narrative that I've been saying since day one about Lamar Jackson remains true. He can't win the big one. Quarterbacks get too much credit and too much blame based on their team's successes or failures. But the bottom line is that guy can't win when it counts. Can't do it. Put up all the fancy stats you want. You like the fancy stats? You like the fantasy football stats? Sure, that's great. Madden ratings? Ooh, that's fun. Depends what you rate success after. I rate success off of guys who try to win championships and go deep in the playoffs. Something Lamar Jackson cannot do. Hasn't done it. Won't do it. Feels good. Wish we could bottle up those Raven tears to go along with the Ben Roethlisberger Steeler tears from a few years ago. Bottle them up in a water bottle and have a nice swig of that. So hit the bricks, Ratbirds. Buffalo Bills, I hope they knock off the Chiefs. And then you got Eagles Commanders, which is going to be sensational. So we'll be back Sunday live, 10 a.m. Eastern. Go over those games. And we'll also look at some more fantasy football disappointments from this past year. So thank you so much to Coach Lance Reisland for joining us to break down the quarterback draft possibilities for the Browns. Producer Shane, and to all of you, I'm Andy McNamara. And as always, go Browns!
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.